when it comes to advocacy for animals, it came full circle when in 2018, when I was working with the Humane Society of the United States, which was my first professional position in the animal rights movement, we worked very hard on Proposition 13 in Florida, which banned greyhound racing in 2018. It was a state constitutional amendment. It was broadly supported, bipartisan. Over, I think it was 69% of the vote to ban greyhound racing. And when Florida prohibited greyhound racing, and we won that victory, basically the whole greyhound racing industry was going to collapse because Florida was the biggest and the most profound. So it was a story of inspiration getting involved in animal welfare and animal rights. And because of hard work and advocacy and educating and raising awareness and speaking with legislators and working across the political aisle on a local and state level and nationally as well, such an incredible victory was gotten for animals. So it's also a lesson in that we can't rescue and adopt and transfer our way out of the problems that we face and animals face. You know, the greyhound rescue groups, people like my grandmother, were doing amazing work and doing amazing, beautiful things for individual animals, but it took policy. It took a law, it took an amendment, it took, hard-fought victories in that space to finally bring about enough progress where we weren't just patching things with a Band-Aid, we were really solving the root cause and getting to things. So what we're seeing now in the animal sheltering and animal welfare world when it comes to companion animals is exactly what the funds of the Crossing Animal Society are meant to address on the ground level. What shelters are seeing, the number one reason for animals being surrendered to animal shelters today and now, this year, is pets in housing. Number one reason, pets in housing. More and more people are renting, less and less people can afford a mortgage and interest rates and the economy's haywire, inflation, all these things going on. When you don't have pet-inclusive, pet-friendly housing, people don't have an alternative. And so we really need to start looking at the pets-inclusive housing issue. And there's a number of policy solutions to address that. Prohibiting insurance companies from discriminating based on breed. Delaware, New York have passed laws on that. New Jersey needs to, Pennsylvania needs to. What my colleague Shannon discussed about looking at landlords and the greediness and the profiteering off of this is really an issue. Washington, D.C., Colorado passed reasonable laws addressing the pets and friendly housing issue. It's a massive issue because the animal shelters can only do so much. Animal rescues can only do so much to really help people with that issue. It's got to, like the greyhound racing, it's got to be a systemic policy solution on a broader level. And a statistic that I thought was completely staggering, 90% of all affordable housing in the United States is somehow, thank you, Shannon, I thought it was on Do Not Disturb, 90% is not pet friendly in some way. And that is a statistic from the Best Friends Animal Society, a great national animal advocacy organization. 90% of affordable housing in some way, shape, or form is not pet friendly. They may prohibit altogether, they may have excessive pet fees. So that is a real problem. The number two problem that one of the funds addresses, so thank you, Yvonne, is the inability to access affordable veterinary care. For a variety of reasons, there's a shortage of veterinary services, and we have issues like hedge funds buying up vet clinics and all of that happening and drawing up prices. There's a whole mix of things impacting the surging price of veterinary care, and trying to provide affordable veterinary care to folks who are lower income or who really need it is a real challenge. So when folks show up to an animal shelter and need to surrender their pet, funds like this that you're supporting and the efforts that we take to try to keep pets in homes are really paramount to trying to prevent the intake into shelters, because an animal shelter is really a last-ditch scenario for an animal. No matter how wonderful the shelter, how well-funded, how clean, how dedicated, it's just the least ideal situation for an animal in that sense. So we all do our best with that. On the screen here are just a listing of laws in the last 10 and a half years that I've been involved in New Jersey that have addressed a whole swath of animal welfare issues, from farm animals to companion animals to animal cruelty, shark fin sales, the whole 9 yards. All of these victories were gotten because it took a coalition of folks coming together to swim upstream and really work hard to get these things done. After 10 and a half years of doing this in a professional sense, I've learned two lessons to take away that I will leave you all with. And out of sake of time, if anyone wants to speak about any of these things separately or ways that I may be able to be of assistance, I'd be happy to speak offline. But one lesson is we have to join together and coalesce and collaborate as much as possible, because the needs and the problems are so great. No one individual, no one organization, no matter how big, how well-intended, how funded, can address all of these issues. I mean, a great example on the federal level right now, to draw everybody's attention, every 5 or so years there's a federal farm bill. Massive federal appropriations bill funding USDA and farm subsidies and all of this stuff. Congress is deliberating it right now in Washington. If anti-animal provisions get inserted in that bill, there's a Save Our Bacon Act and a EATS Act. Some very extremist members have been trying to overturn a whole swath of animal welfare laws for the last 10, 15 years, and they attempt to do it all the time. They are massively powerful, massively well-funded, big ag, big food, big sugar, the whole thing, and they don't want animal protection laws because it costs them money, they have to protect and treat animals better. It affects their bottom line, and they've been fighting to get it in the federal farm bill. If that gets through in the federal farm bill as we speak, there are 600 laws on a state and local level in the United States that would essentially be nullified, including laws that some of us have worked very hard to pass. 36 in New Jersey would be nullified. So I've been in touch with Senator Booker, who's a huge animal advocate, and we're grateful for him on that because he's on the Senate Agricultural Committee. So the whole point of me bringing that up is to say the opposition to what we care about, animals and their welfare, and that mentality, that philosophy, the opposition is so powerful, so well funded. When it comes to companion animal issues, the challengers are so great. We have to band together as advocates, as rescues, as shelters, to support each other and collaborate when and where we can to address the multitude of those problems. We've made a tremendous amount of progress on so many things, and we can't lose sight of that, but we also need it to inform the challenges that are still before us and what we still need to do. So collaboration is key, and I've always lived that in my work and my experience in the animal welfare world. I will collaborate. I only met Yvonne a few weeks ago. She called me up, we had a meeting, we had a great conversation. Here we are, we're working together on legislation and advocacy, so I'm grateful for that, and I always welcome that very much. Second key takeaway I'll leave with all of you in conclusion is a fundamental problem we have in this country, which is why so much animal cruelty is allowed to happen and why we see so many companion animals as well suffering in a variety of ways, is because legally animals are property. People don't always intellectualize that. Animals are property, legally. So think of the car in your garage, the shovel in your shed, your beloved cat or dog, legally the same. Animals are sentient beings. I think we all believe that they are. They are deserving of respect. They are deserving to live and breathe like we do. They are deserving to not suffer like we are. So as long as animals are legally considered property, we're going to be swimming upstream and have problems with that. And I think we need to advocate for some of the principles that the Animal Legal Defense Fund, which was an organization I used to work for before my current position, in elevating the legal standing and status of animals in our society and in our legal system. So doing things like banning discrimination by homeowners insurance companies, doing things like including animals in protective orders with domestic violence, doing these things that elevate the status of animals in our society to say, hey, these are living, breathing, sentient beings that deserve a higher level of attention and respect than just being considered legal property, like a shovel in your shed. That is paramount to getting progress more for animals and getting where we need to be. So, in conclusion, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you all for your passion for animals, your support of the Crossings Animal Society. It's a great organization. I'm very blessed to have met Yvonne and Karen and the team here, Howard. We all have to work together. There's a lot of work to do. So thank you for your support. God bless you all, and keep up the good work.
Thank all of you so much for coming. I'll mention this very, very briefly. There are envelopes in a basket at the sign-in table. Right now, I think we are hovering at $20,000 for our fundraiser. We've got a little bit of a gap to close. We've done really, really well, and we are really appreciative of your donations. If you have a mind to maybe do an additional little bit, that is welcome. There's also a Venmo sign there. And other than that, thank you so, so much for coming. We will be back in touch with you. Please reach out to us at any time if you need information, if we can be helpful to you. Okay? Thanks so much.
Thank you.